Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cleveland Sports Bros podcast. I'm Matt alongside Nick. Nick, how are you doing today?
Good to be here talking sports.
Yep, well, unfortunately, not a lot of positive sports news coming out of Cleveland. We're going to talk a little bit of the Cavs, mostly focus on the Browns, and maybe touch on the Buckeyes as well, because while not a Cleveland team, a lot of fans of our show are certainly fans of theirs. So, I guess are one positive spot right now, although we do think that the Cavs will be able to right the ship. So Nick, what's going on with the Cavs 4-game losing streak?
Yeah, so they had a 5-game stretch out west. I guess one of them, in the East Conference, but they faced the Pistons, whom they beat, but they were unable to beat the Sacramento Kings, the Warriors, and
Lakers
and Clippers. Well, they beat the Lakers, but the Clippers, they kind of blew that in the end.
And Golden State.
Yeah. So, but a lot of that has been, and it's not a huge excuse, but Donovan Mitchell has been in and out of games due to his ankle sprain and not having your star on the floor, although the team can be dependent on Garland. It wasn't until the game against the Timberwolves back home that he had his best fourth quarter of a 27-point fourth and a 51-point game overall. Only the third Cavalier in team history to score 50-plus points aside LeBron and Kyrie.
Yeah, and I was at that game. It was just basically a blowout from the beginning, and you could tell that they clearly not only missed Donovan Mitchell but missed Jared Allen, because the Timberwolves were just getting dunk after dunk and layup after layup inside. I think with Jared Allen, that he would have been able to prevent a lot of that. So what do they have coming up next?
Well, tomorrow they go back on the road and face the best team in basketball, the Milwaukee Bucks, who have a 10-2 record. So, what are they? 4 games ahead of the Cavaliers. It's still early, and while the Cavaliers do have a 4-game losing streak, I do believe, it's a long season, that they will be able to get this turned around and turn around quickly.
Yeah, they started 8-1. Most of those games without Darius Garland, and the team's young. They still have to gel. They have new pieces, of course. We know Donovan Mitchell, so they'll get it. Although he's been out a little bit, but I have full confidence that they'll get it together, and I'm looking forward to watching them compete against the best in Milwaukee tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they're probably, I'd say by the end of the month, maybe that's the game span that it'll take for Mitchell and Darius to gel. They're both ball dominant players, and they need to be able to work off of each other. Unfortunately, with one basketball, you're not going to have 30-plus points between the two of them. So we'll see them, how they work it out, and it's going to be exciting.
Yep, for sure. So definitely looking forward as they commence through this early season. Well, now to talk Browns, probably, the most disappointing of the 3 teams, the 3 major sports teams in Cleveland. Nick, what happened on Sunday against the Dolphins?
Yeah, so I'm not too sure how other fans felt about going into this game. Miami has a very talented quarterback, and Tua, you could argue, somewhere arguing MVP caliber. And coming off of a win prior to the bye against the Bengals. It was by far the Browns' best defensive game, and I think fans and the team were expecting at least them to show signs of competitiveness. They got beat 39-17. It wasn't even close. They started off hot, big kick return. What was it, about 40 some yards, and Stefanski calling the plays, did what he tends to usually do on opening drives. Follows the 15 playbook script, and they Jacoby got a touchdown reception to Harrison Bryant, and it just fell apart from there. And when you're down by so many points, as much as we want the team to run the football with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, you can't. When you're in too deep a hole, you need to throw the football. Jacoby didn't turn the ball over, but a player of his standards isn't gonna turn the game around.
Yeah, for sure. But I think it's too late for the Browns. If anyone was hoping on Deshaun being able to right the ship, he may very well perform well. That's to be seen, of course, but the problems run much, much deeper. Miami's a good team, not a great team. I know people who are fans there, all they can ever talk about is 72 Dolphins and their last Super Bowl in 73. So they're not a good team, not a good franchise. And for the Browns to get embarrassed by them was just I'd like to say fluke, unfortunately, but we've seen a lot of evidence that this team is just a bad football team. They don't have leadership. They supposedly have good players, and they do in Nick Chubb, and I think Myles Garrett is very good. He's having a little bit of an off year. Part of his problem is the rest of the defensive line is no good, but they have some talent, but they just haven't been able to actually show that on the field, with a few rare exceptions. So just definitely disappointing game. They ran all over the Browns. Tua was able to make plays, and the coaching decisions for the Browns, just couldn't believe it. I know they had the touchdown pass to start the drive, but couldn't believe that they weren't running the ball with Nick Chubb. It worked out, so I'm happy about that, but the decision making still, it works sometimes when they take those risks, but very oftentimes it doesn't. So I don't know what to do with the play calling, and just the overall strategy. It seems like it just doesn't make sense with the players we have on this team.
Yeah, and we hear this, not just this year, but in past years, blame the coach, blame the players, fire all the coaches and everything like that. We need, of course, it's very upsetting, but Browns fans need to, keep their head held high. I know it's difficult, but after these 2 weeks, I know it's still ways away, but when Watson returns, he's hopefully the future of the franchise and can do good on and off the field. And the way I'm going to look at it is these 6 games are for him to get his feet wet, because he hasn't played in a couple of years. And I think it's too little too late, even if they did beat Buffalo, to have a playoff shot. But I'm excited when the time comes to see what the offense will look like with Deshaun. And hopefully Chubb is still a big part of it, but we'll see what happens. Got to get through Buffalo and Tampa Bay first.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get my hopes up for either of those games, or even the season. I'm not. I know you weren't either, but like you said, I guess the only hope for fans is to see what hopefully will be. Again, not to take away from Jacoby. I think he's great in the locker room, and he's done pretty well. But like I said, the issues run way deeper than the offense. They kind of had a tough game last weekend, but in large part it have been good. So yeah, it's just, I guess, there's always next year, that famous saying that Browns fans have. So we'll see what they can do against Buffalo. It could be a snow bowl. I've seen the forecast could have approaching 3 feet of snow over the weekend in Buffalo. So that could be exciting.
Yeah. And one final point I meant to make, fans said this at the beginning of the year, and I think we were anticipating it. It turned out to be the opposite. It was the defense that was expected to lead this team, and that just hasn't been the case. The saying defense wins championships. I didn't expect that to be the case for the Browns to make a deep run, especially with the star quarterback suspended for 11 games. But even with Jacoby, if they can find a way to have some good games together on both sides of the ball, but especially defense, and build for the future, of course, Garrett is a player we want to see for many years, but some changes may need to be made. And I know Barry is not known for drafting a player and wanting to, pull the plug on them. He may need to change that approach if he wants to stay in Cleveland. So we'll see what happens. And what else can you say?
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I guess we'll close out with a final brighter topic on the Ohio State Buckeyes. So, they destroyed IU this past weekend. Snowy day down there at the Horseshoe. They're 10-0 on the season, undefeated. Everyone is looking forward to that Michigan game in 2 weeks from now. Don't want it to be a trap game. They go in and they play at Maryland this Saturday. So you can't take your eye off the ball. I don't think they will. They're highly favored in that game. But of course, after that is focus on Michigan, what should be number 2 and number 3 matchup, unless Georgia loses. And then after that, don't want to get too far ahead. They have to beat a good Michigan team to get there, of course. But after that, the eyes on the Big Ten championship and beyond. And I just want to make note that Illinois right now is topping the Big Ten West, followed by Iowa and Purdue. But Illinois plays at Michigan. So Michigan, should win that game. Of course, there's no guarantees, but they're favored as well. And then just want to point out that of those teams, Illinois, Iowa, and Purdue, I think Ohio State should be most afraid to play the Boilermakers. Purdue has given them lots of trouble in the past. They've had kind of an up and down year, but Purdue just has to win out. They have to, take care of business. They play Northwestern, and then IU, and then all they need is for Iowa to lose one game. So that can certainly happen. And, Ohio State has actually a tough road. I don't want to discount them or, again, get too far ahead, but, with such a good team, you want to look forward to the Big Ten championship and beyond. But, just wanted to point out what could happen in the next few weeks. So, Nick, anything else to add?
Nope.
All right. Well, another great episode of the Cleveland Sports Bros podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Have a good day.